exciting offering related to advanced process control. I know many of you have some questions and some interest about some other recent news regarding Invensys and Schneider Electric. I'm going to ask you to set those questions aside. Today we really want to concentrate on Tom Kinney's announcement. However, we're fortunate to have Mike Leal and Clemens Bloom here with us this week, so if you do have some questions related to the acquisition and Invensys' integration into the Schneider Electric organization, we could perhaps secure some time for you on that. So thanks again, everyone. We welcome the chance to participate here today. So here's Tom Kinney.
Thank you, Tom, and thanks everyone for coming. It's getting a little bit late in the day, so I'm well aware that I'm standing between you and maybe some snacks and your first drink, so I'll be careful about the time here. I look after the optimization business for the SimSci Group, and we've been working on a new product for a couple of years, and today we're very excited to unveil this for you. Just a little bit of context of where we fit into the world of Invensys Schneider. And the SimSci Group, simply stated, and again, I won't agonize on this for too long, but the SimSci Group is a group within Invensys SimSci brand that really has a number of products, technologies, services, all hinging on and focused around modeling technology. And so the modeling technology based on first principle engineering that is used in design, optimization, operator training. So we have a whole collection of technologies in that area. And today we're going to talk about advanced process control. And so a number of our customers rely on this technology, both the advanced process control and the other suite of products to deliver increased profits for them year in and year out. So drilling down just a little bit, and again, without trying to have this too much of a lesson, if you will, or too much background, why have ABC? Who cares? And why should we be thinking about it here today? And just as you'll see a little red line on the right side of this slide, which the process variable as a function of time shows quite a bit of variation in it. And with the application of advanced process control, we can remove that variation. Once we remove that variation, we can move much closer to product limits or product constraints, as they're sometimes called. The good news is that whenever we do this, we almost always, can't always say that, but almost always, this corresponds to reduced energy consumption. So you get sort of a double benefit here. And what that means is that we can push product quality constraints closer to their limits, and we get a reduction in energy. And so the benefits of APC are well known and have been well known for quite some time. And particularly today in a lot of the operating company environments, the drive or the need to squeeze incremental profits out either through energy reduction or through increased product value is there's more pressure on it now than ever because in many cases the operating margins are just too thin. So certainly these topics and this sort of focus is not new in the world, and so what we embarked on about 2 years ago is a process of really renovating our ABC offering. And our ABC offering was previously known as Connoisseur. And we've completely renovated really from the ground up. And we started out with an HMI refresh, and one thing led to another, and we completely rebuilt the product, and we have taken a couple of new focus on this, because I mentioned a moment ago that the notion of doing advanced process control is not new. However, looking out at the workplace and looking at the world at large, there's a whole new generation of users coming into the workplace. This generation of users has very high expectations with regard to usability of tools, with the prevalence of smartphones, tablets, and these kinds of things. And so what we've really set out to do is take a real step change in the ease of use, user experience, and I can say that the entire product portfolio in the SimSci family is embarking on a similar kind of push to drive the user experience and the ease of use. So moving on and just drilling down into a couple of specifics here. It's, as I mentioned, the tablets and the smartphones, the whole new user interface, the whole new product has been really considered from the ground up to be user-friendly and tablet-ready. We have a fairly significant enhancement to the product, or to the technology, which we're referring to as Director, and I'll say some more about that in a couple of slides down. But really, Director is a scripting language that is used to augment advanced process control. So when process conditions change, when feed rates increase or decrease, when you lose a pump, somebody loses a heat exchanger, the whole problem of controlling the process and optimizing it simply can change at a moment's notice. And so we can use this tool, this Director tool, to redirect, to change out models, to change out objective functions, to really reconfigure the advanced process control on the fly. And what this results in is a wider range of applicability and service factor and a higher utilization. Some of the other things I'll mention just quickly that we've put in here. This is really a cut down list because we have very limited time here. Auto discovery certainly reduces project configuration times. As we all know, all these DCS PLC systems, they have their own syntax. And so we've built a lot of that syntax into the SimSci APC, and what that allows the user to do is quickly get all the important information out of the underlying system without all of the usual complications. We have reusable step test generators, live radio plots, full case and scenario support, and this is really kind of a big one because at the heart of a product like this is modeling technology. And we've made this pretty complicated domain, which was previously, only usable by experts, something that can be done with a simple click and drag and drop, and it's really quite easy. If I can do it, anybody can do it. So, but certainly in this industrial automation world, we all carry a bit of a long tail behind us. And so, for all of our loyal customers and all the installed base and all of the industries that we have around the world, it's absolutely critical that we allow people to migrate forward. So you can take your previous controllers, your previous work, your previous intellectual property, and migrate it forward into the new environment with a fairly simple exercise. So let me just continue on here. And again, just continuing on with some of the things we've talked about already, just very quickly. Again, tremendous effort on efficient use, minimal number of keystrokes, very natural feedback. We've spent a lot of time on workflows and making the workflows very natural. And it's very scalable for highly complex problems as well as simple problems. There's no reason why a simple problem can't be a very respectable problem to solve and generate a lot of money for the business. So I can wax on here for a long time about the benefits of our APC, and really the UI is kind of a soft thing in some respects. But what I've done is recorded a bit of a demo using the actual product. So you'll see here a list of tags, and really the only point out of this is that we can highlight a list of tags just like you would highlight text in a document. We do a simple click, and now we've generated a whole collection of trends. We can pan and zoom on these by just using the trackball on the mouse. We can go left and right, we can zoom in, we can find that critical information that the control engineer needs to quickly ascertain what's important about this process. You'll see here that we're selecting particular data points that highlights the actual time and date. Again, control engineers need to know the function, what happens as a function of time in the process. And so that's very, very easy. I can simply rearrange trends because two important process variables, they need to see them right next to each other. So I can rearrange these trends again with a point and click. And lastly, I decided I'm not interested in this one, so the graphic has a little trash can and we just get rid of that. So by just pointing and clicking, I've created these trends that'll build a history. I can quickly find out what's going on in the process. Again, there was no keyboard entry required. One of the other things that we focused on in this sort of the soft world of ease of use, this might be a typical screen, and you can see that there's sort of some major areas here. We have a sort of a workflow ribbon on the left, and you can see that the user is scrolling down through a number of cells here that have a number of lines in them, and we'll talk more about those in just a minute. But the real message here is that the screen, this is a typical screen that you might see on any collection of products. It has, message area, it has some menus, it has some actual information that the user might be interested in. But a lot of our users told us when we went out and did Voice of Customer, we did a lot of that before we started creating this product, is that they really want to have some way to very quickly get all of the information out of the way that is not relevant to their specific workflow at that time. So what you'll see here in just a second is we have a very slick way to completely rearrange all of this information and have all of these menus disappear and reappear as needed, again with just a simple click, and you'll see in just a second here as the video progresses that we have a way to make all of this information, how would I say, go away and be simple. As you can see, the information that I'm interested in, I can only see a small portion of it right now. So in just a moment here, the mouse will move down, and we're going to cause all of this information we don't need to sort of fly out of the way automatically. And we're going to do the same thing over here on this ribbon. The information flies out of the way automatically. So, and the same way with the ribbon bar at the top, information flies out of the way automatically. So now, for that part of the work process, we've maximized the screen. And anytime anyone wants to come back to this, come back to any of these areas to see history of messages or to get access to other commands, they can just mouse over those spots in the bottom of the screen, and it comes in, and then it flies out of the way automatically when you move the mouse away. So there's literally dozens, hundreds and hundreds of things that we've done to make the user interface very intuitive and very easy to use as a result of all the work we did on the human factors here. So really the intent is to make sure that the user experience is really natural, and that way we believe that it's going to be highly conducive to someone to embrace the tool. Also, this slide's a little bit busy, and I'll say just a few words about it, and then we can move on. I mentioned earlier in the presentation a facility we call Director. And this Director facility, if you imagine the APC application as being defined by this gray area in the middle of the screen, the Director shell or the scripting language allows the engineer and operator to reconfigure the APC controller on the fly. He can make the controller bigger, make the controller smaller. He can change out models on the fly. Changing out models on the fly is very important in things like industrial power applications. If the power generation rate goes from 100% at night to, 100% during the day to say 20% at night, that is a dramatically different picture from a process control standpoint. So we can use this Director tool to change out all the models on the fly. We can change out constraints and limits and what information is actually published out to the operator. So really, the collection of the APC engine, the user interface, and this Director tool lets us really put the APC onto a much wider basis of deployment and sustainment. So this is, so far as we know at least, an absolutely unique capability that no other APC tool really has in the marketplace. So moving on to what is really, for those people who are the practitioners in this world, the centerpiece of what we're talking about is building and identifying models, and this has historically been the domain of experts working with file-based tools and Excel spreadsheets, and it's all fairly cryptic non-intuitive stuff, and I think mostly people did this in some cases to protect their jobs. But what we've done is we've carried forward all of this business about the user interface and no need for keyboard entry, drag and drop and click, and really, you know, I can say a lot about this, but once more, I think I'm gonna torture you to watch one more short video, because a lot of this stuff is really hard to describe in words, and I think it makes much more sense if we can watch just a bit of a short video. So what we're going to do is we're going to queue up. We're going to start here in just a second. You can see the screen is pretty well cleared, and the mouse will move up, and we'll open up our natural workflow ribbon. We're going to open this modeling tool up, and we're going to just open this up, and now what you'll see is a lot of process tags on the left side of the screen. And so this is the data coming in from either OPC or from your DCS or PLC. These are the tags that you've decided that you need some information on. And so what the user is going to do is he's just going to take his mouse and he's going to click on some of this information, drag and drop it into a different spot on the tool, and then we're going to build up a different set of modeling scenarios. We're going to create some models, and then we're going to build us a controller in the next 2 minutes. And so you can see he selected the data. These are the outputs, or sometimes called manipulated variables in the parlance of APC engineers. And now we're adding a number of scenarios. What this really means is the APC engineer can take this data and do a number of modeling scenarios in this by invoking different modeling algorithms and different configurations of the modeling tool. So I'm changing a parameter here called model length, which is basically time to steady state. What this really means is, for purposes of this, it just creates plots that are a little more interesting so we can see the effects of the tool. As you can see here, we've got a pull-down menu with different types of modeling technologies available. And I'm going to invoke that. And in a moment here, I'm going to I'm going to select these scenarios, and I'm going to ask for an identification. Now, in the old days, when we pressed this button, it took hours. Now we just completed modeling of a bunch of scenarios in about 1 second. So now we've got all these models built. Let's take a look at them. So each one of these plots represents, each color represents a different scenario that we just configured. So the operator or the engineer or whomever can zoom in on these things. He can select them. He can zoom into the details. And what you'll also see here in a minute is this brings it up to a zoomed in, and he's moving the mouse up over the legend now. And as he moves the mouse over the legend, each one of these scenarios gets highlighted. And you know, it's not uncommon for somebody to build up control models with maybe 60, 70 scenarios, and these things are all superimposed on each other. And so it's important that he sees the one that he's interested in instantly. Now, here comes a pretty cool part. Once we've decided which one of these scenarios we like, then we're just going to add these scenario components. We just highlight it, select them. Here we took scenario 3 in that case. Here we're going to highlight this, and we're going to take scenario 2 in that case. So he's got a bunch of different models built up from a bunch of different model sources, and he just picks and chooses the ones he likes. Now let me tell you, there's an enormous amount of mathematics behind the scene that makes all of this stuff mash together properly. But for the user, all he has to do is just pick the ones he likes, and it all comes together. So now, this is what he just built. So from the many, he's got a few that really matter. So now, once he likes this, he just says, okay, let's have a look at it in a slightly different mode, but let's just create a final model. And then here's the last final model that has been configured with some of the model parameters there. And now there's a button in the upper right that just says Create Controller. And the controller's been created. So now I have a model predictor controller that has an optimizer. I'm just switching between my controlled manipulated variables here. And in the time that it's taken to display this little video here in a couple of minutes, we've taken raw data, built up a number of modeling scenarios, picked the ones we like from a multitude of them, qualified them, built a final model and built a controller without touching the keyboard. And, you know, in the past, doing this kind of activity for what we just outlined might take days, and we've reduced it to minutes. So, you know, we really are hoping that we can attract ourselves into the next generation of control engineers and the next generation of people that have expectations about user interfaces, and really broaden and widen the attractiveness of these tools by the next generation of people, and some of the old guys like me as well. So anyway, I could go on, of course. I'm very excited about this. We've had a great team working on this for quite a while. And this is sort of our official coming out unveiling here. And so with that, what I'd like to do is conclude that formal portion and ask Tom if he'd like to come up. We have opened the floor up for any questions and answers that people might have.
So thanks, Tom. That was really well done. Appreciate it. Many of you have probably received the news release